exploratory factor analysis is used to identify underlying factors, latent factors. Underlying latent factors based on the similarity of responses on different statements of your statements that are supposed to get similar responses from the respondents. That means these are the statements that actually measure same dimension. That I will give you an example to make it slightly more clear. It is easier to grasp, so therefore I will be taking again the example of customer loyalty because we are all conversant with that. It is, everyone understands what customer loyalty is. So therefore, if you look at a customer loyalty questionnaire or any measure that measures customer loyalty, you find that the statements, there are few statements that are related to repurchase intention. That the customer would like to purchase again and again the same brand. There will be one or two statements that would evaluate that even if the prices of the current brand increase, the customer is still willing to purchase the same brand. These are all related to repurchase. There would be some statements where the customer is ready to promote the brand, or the customer willingly promotes without any financial incentive. Okay, the customer promotes the brand because the customer is so happy with the brand that the customer wants to tell others that this is a good brand. Okay, that is being an advocate of the brand. Now these are two different dimensions. Everyone who is happy with the brand does not become advocate. Okay, and there is a level of satisfaction above with minimum level of satisfaction. Above that, only the customer would become an advocate. Otherwise, the customer may be happy and may buy again, but could not probably go and tell 10 others that this is a good brand, buy it. Right? So these are the two separate dimensions in customer loyalty questionnaire. So the statements that are related to repurchase intention indicated by the respondent, all those would club together and would form a factor. And the statements that are related to brand ambassador, say, okay, or but brand advocate, now all those would be clubbed together and form another factor. Most likely. Although it all depends on how the respondents have responded to the questionnaire, but most likely they will club into these two factors. So what factor analysis then is that it groups statements which actually solicit similar responses in one factor and dissimilar responses in different factors. Clear? Why do we need it? Summated, since we are using summated questionnaires in majority of research studies to evaluate variables, we use summated scales. And summated scales can use a very large number of statements. Some of them going up to 50 or plus. Like all your image questionnaires, whether it is self-image or brand image, you find that those questionnaires go up to 50 or even higher than 50. You know the personality questionnaire, 16 dimension questionnaire, or big 5.
Even Einstein's personality.
Yes. So you find those are very, very large questionnaires, and unless you get some, you reduce that to a reasonably manageable number of dimensions, you won't be able to take any decisions to improve. The decisions to improve can only be taken on few dimensions. So that is the reason why you need to reduce the overall summated questionnaire to a manageable number of dimensions. That is one part. Second part is that questionnaire, when you develop a questionnaire, you have decided some statements based on those dimensions originally. Because when you develop a questionnaire, it is not that you start writing some statements and the questionnaire will be ready. You first visualize that these are the areas that should be covered about this concept. And on each of those areas, you will put some statements. Right? So that means, originally when you designed a questionnaire, inherent dimensions were already there in the questionnaire. You probably have not indicated that, but then they were already there. Now those dimensions can be identified, and later on you can see whether the questionnaire was correct by looking at the factors that have been identified. Okay, similar questionnaires have been used by others. They may have identified some factors. You have used the questionnaire in different settings. There have been different responses. Now these the factors that have been identified in this setting, factors that have been identified in another setting, do they collaborate? Are they similar? Now that points towards validity of your questionnaire. So factor analysis is also used to provide a ground for evaluating validity or establishing validity of your questionnaire. In fact, when we go for confirmatory factor analysis, you would find it has quantitative methods to establish validity, construct validity of the questionnaire. So, exploratory would give you a ground to establish validity, and confirmatory factor analysis actually quantitatively establishes validity. Alright, so therefore, wherever you are developing a new questionnaire, it is important that you use factor analysis so that you can establish validity of your questionnaire. Right? Wherever you are using an established or standardized questionnaire, but you are using in some different setting, maybe different consult setting, political or business environment is different. There also, you may again need to carry out factor analysis just to see whether the underlying dimensions have changed. If they have not changed, fine. But if they have changed, you can see that the responses in different settings may be different, and therefore the underlying dimensions you might find that there is a change. So there are differences. All right. Since we now understand that factor analysis is a very important tool in confirming your result. Okay, there are various aspects of the result that you can evaluate using factor analysis. So therefore, say important techniques. So please pay attention, and it will be used in majority of the researches wherever you are going to develop your new measures. So it's important that you pay attention and learn. Already been collected. Variables used for evaluating the healthcare research. So let us see how to carry out factor analysis using data under service quality. Now, for factor analysis, since individual statements have to be evaluated, responses on individual statements have to be taken for conversions on factors, we have to take the whole Excel sheet to the SPSS, right? So what we will do, select this sheet in service quality. One of the sheet is named as service quality. So select that. One more aspect that we did not cover yesterday and we will cover today, that is reliability. Before we go for exploratory factor analysis, in fact, the first test or first evaluation that we must do after collecting data is reliability test. Right? So we will first learn how to apply reliability, and then we'll move on to factor analysis. Reliability will also be applied on the complete Excel sheet. So yesterday, whatever tools we applied on summated scores. Right? So today we will start from the Excel sheet. So I'll copy this service quality and correlations. Please do not item to total correlations. Please omit that. Don't use it. Only the data, respondent provided data. Okay, that needs to be taken. And do not take the top number of on the top one row we have serial number of the items. That also you should omit. Item numbers also should not be part of. You must only copy the responses provided by the respondents. Okay, into the SPSS. See. ये सर्विस क्वालिटी वाला ले लो लीजिए. Don't select the item at this time. वो सिर्फ यूज करके करेंगे ज्यादा आसान होता है. Okay, so pay attention. Go to analyze, go to scale. Okay, go to analyze, go to scale. Click on reliability analysis. Click on reliability analysis. Transfer the variables to items under test. Okay, the items in the input window, transfer them to items under test. Okay, test window. Right? Is everyone with me?
Yes,
Okay, you got that? On right hand corner top, there is an option called statistics. Click that. Click the option statistics, right hand corner top. Select scale if item deleted. Scale if item deleted. Okay? You can also select correlations so that we can check correlations. Okay? You don't need to check anything else. Continue. Now, there are a number of reliability models that you can select one of them. Alpha is Cronbach's alpha. Then split half is there, Gutmann, parallel and strict parallel. Okay, we will be starting with Cronbach's alpha. Cronbach's alpha is one of the most popular internal consistency reliability measure. Okay, it evaluates the internal consistency between the statements. Okay, between the responses on different statements. So therefore, we will use that, and it is most popular world over. In majority of the researches, this is one of the measures that is reflected. Click on OK. It will give you the reliability results. You have few tables here. The first one is the case processing summary, which indicates what was the sample size and how many samples were processed. That whether some samples were removed because of missing data. None of them was 400 was sample size, all 400 have been processed. Now, this is the overall reliability that is given. Cronbach's alpha and Cronbach's alpha based on standardized items. Okay? Cronbach's alpha and Cronbach's alpha based on standardized items. You can use Cronbach's alpha because that's raw Cronbach's alpha. Okay? Now, you have item total correlation matrix, and under that, the item total statistics. So go to item total statistics matrix. Go to item total statistics. Look at the last column. Last column contains the Cronbach's alpha if item deleted. Now what was our overall reliability? 0.859. Now you need to look at this and see if any of the item, if deleted, would increase reliability. If you see, there is one item number 6, that if we delete that, the reliability will go to 0.860. Although it's a minor improvement, but there is no harm in you improving it. All right. So we can delete this item, and you don't need to go back to the input sheet, because you can do it while you can remove it from the process items under the processing window. Okay. Like go back to analyze, go to scale, click reliability again. Now item number 6, variable number 6 can be removed from the processing window and transfer it back to the input window. Now it will not be used for computing reliability. Alright. So again, our selections are already there. So click OK, you will get results. Look at now, reliability statistics indicates that the Cronbach's alpha has increased to 0.860. Again, we need to look at the item total statistics and see if any other item would increase the reliability. If you look at this, now none of the item is able to increase the reliability. All the reliability values are now smaller than 0.860. Under reliability, if item deleted, you find that all these reliabilities are lower than the overall reliability of the questionnaire. That means you can't improve the reliability anymore by deleting any of the statements. So this is the final questionnaire for us. Item number 6 has been dropped for further process. That means whenever we are going to use this questionnaire, we would use it minus item number 6. Item number 6 would not form part of this questionnaire for any further process. Okay? So we will keep that in mind. Now, same Excel sheet which has already been transferred to SPSS will be used for carrying out factor analysis, exploratory factor analysis. Let us see. Go to analyze. Exploratory factor analysis would come under dimension reduction. Okay? Dimension reduction factor. Analyze dimension reduction factor. Analyze dimension reduction factor. Okay? Click on factor. You can transfer all first and then we will retransfer item number 6. That is easier to do than dividing the variables into 2-3 parts and transferring. Okay? Transfer all to the right window and retransfer item number 6 because we don't want item number 6 to be included for factor analysis. Right? Because item number 6 was actually dragging your reliability down. So that has been removed now. So therefore from factor analysis also we will remove item number 6. Alright. There are number of selections here to the right side. Let us click first to descriptives. Click on descriptives. Now it has number of options. First look at it has two parts. Selection window has 2 parts, statistics and correlation matrix. First look at statistics and univariable descriptives. That univariate descriptives. That means on each of those statements you would find descriptive values, mean, standard deviation, etc. We don't need that. And initial solution. It will provide you the initial factor solution. Okay? So we need that initial factor solution we want. So initial solution would be ticked. It is default selected. We will leave it selected. There are 2 more matrices that we will get through this factor analysis. Descriptive matrices, KM1 Bartlett test of sphericity and anti-image. These are the 2 important selections, and we will interpret results based on these matrices. KM1 Bartlett test of sphericity and anti-image. Okay, select these 2. Selected? Go to continue. Next, extraction. Now, under extraction there are a number of methods. Okay? Principal component, unweighted least squares, generalized least squares, maximum likelihood, principal axis factoring, alpha factoring, image factoring. Basically, all these methods can be classified into two categories. Right? Two categories. Now, one set of these methods actually use complete variant. They will extract the complete variance of the statements. That means the explained and unexplained both variances would be extracted using some of these methods. Principal component is one of them. And there is another set of methods that would extract only the explained variance. Okay? Now that all your alpha factoring and alpha factoring, image factoring, principal axis factoring, these are the ones that would only extract the explained variance. Okay? So explained and unexplained variance later on we will discuss about this, because see, principal component analysis, in fact, since it extracts both explained and unexplained variance, it is considered one of the better methods of extracting the factors for a number of purposes. For some other purposes, you find wherever we will need that, I will mention that you would be better off using the techniques that only extract explained variance. Okay? So whenever, in whichever tool we will need that, I will talk about it. Right now, since we are going to go for confirmatory factor analysis after this, we will be using principal components. PCA, principal component analysis. So we will use that as a method of extraction. Now what actually happens under PCA? I will tell you the equivalent of what actually happens. It is not the exact process, but this is the basis. You get item to item correlation matrix. Okay? You had seen that matrix in your reliability test. Similar matrix is prepared in your factor analysis. Now based on this matrix, you look at the highest correlation coefficient. The highest correlation coefficient. Now that is a beginning of forming the factor, because the two statements between which the correlation is highest, they start forming the factor, and then the other statements are then the total of these two statements and the correlation with other statements is checked, and the statement which has highest correlation with this is converged on it. And so that means when we are starting with the first factor, all the statements are free to converge on a single factor. Okay? When this convergence is very, very small, you find the second factor, and the second factor simultaneously can start. Okay? That means two other statements which had second highest and which did not have high correlation among themselves can start forming the second factor. But whichever statements have converged on factor 1 do not get a chance to converge on factor 2. And same way, whichever statements converged on factor 2, factor 1 and 2 do not get a chance to converge on factor 3 and later on. So therefore, principal component, that means first factor is the largest factor. It maximum number of statements converge on the first factor, and lesser than that would converge on second factor, and subsequently other factors would have lesser and lesser number of statements converging on them. Right? So therefore the technique is called principal component, because first component is the principal component and then others are smaller than that. Right? So this is the process that is used in principal component analysis. In the other factoring also, either you use a correlation matrix as the beginning or a covariance matrix as the beginning. But the process that is used in all of them for extraction of factors is similar, right? That only the difference is whether you are extracting the explained and unexplained values complete, or you are only extracting the explained values. That's the basic difference. So we will use principal component analysis here. And based on correlation matrix. Okay, and we want unrotated factor solution. Okay, we want to see what was the unrotated factor solution, and then after rotation what differences have been made. So therefore we will select that unrotated factor solution. It is default selected for us. Now there are two methods of identifying the number of factors. Okay, when you are carrying out factor analysis, this factor analysis method requires guidance that how would you decide the number of factors that you can extract. There are two methods that are there in this. One is based on your conceptual understanding, based on, say, if this measure that you are evaluating might have been used elsewhere, and you already know that there are four factors or there are four dimensions. So you would select second option, number of factors. If you already know how many factors should be there in this particular questionnaire, then you can select the second option, number of factors. But if you do not know that, okay, you allow the process, the analytical process to decide number of factors. That can be done based on eigenvalues greater than 1. That means it will extract factors who have eigenvalues greater than 1. Now, what do I mean by this eigenvalues greater than 1? The loading of each statement. See, each statement in the questionnaire would load on all the factors that would emerge, right? That means if you have 25 statements, you would also have 25 factors, right? If you have 25 statements, you would also have 25 factors. Each one of these statements can be considered as a separate factor. Now, from these 25, you want to know how many should you extract? 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? So there we use this method of eigenvalues greater than 1. Now how eigenvalues are computed? Okay? Now suppose this is factor 1, factor 2, factor 3, factor 4, and so on. Okay? And these are the statements or items converged. Right? So you will have some items that would converge on this. There will be loadings. Okay, all these items would load on this, would load on this also, will load on this also, and will load on this also. Right? Now, if I square these loadings and add together, I will get eigenvalue for each of these factors. Eigenvalues are square of loadings added together, summation of loading squared. Okay, factor loading squared. Now that would give you under each factor. Okay, that would give you loadings, and the square of loadings of individual statements on all the factors would give you commonalities. Commonalities. Okay, commonalities, popularly denoted as H. Okay, eigenvalues and commonalities. Alright, so basically, how do we decide number of factors? Each of those factors, eigenvalues are computed, and finally, if any of the, after say, and the eigenvalues would be lower and lower. First factor would have the highest eigenvalue, second would have smaller than that, and third would have smaller than that, and so on. So there will be a time when the factor eigenvalue of a particular factor would be lower than 1. So that factor and any subsequent factor would not be extracted. Okay. Now, what is the background of this? Why eigenvalue 1? The reason is that even if one statement converges on a factor, okay, if a single statement converges on a factor, what is the item load? Say this statement does not converge on any other factor and converges only on one factor. So what would be the item load? 1. If a statement converges only on one factor and it doesn't converge on any other factor, then the item load would be 1. Right? Now, as we know eigenvalue, how it is calculated? Item load or factor load square. So, if there is only a single item loading, that means square of that, square of 1 is 1. So, even if a single item loads on a factor, the eigenvalue, and if it loads only on that factor, the eigenvalue should be 1 at least. So, therefore, you should not extract a factor if not even a single item loads on it. Okay? Even if one item does not load on the factor, then why extract that factor? That is the basis. Okay? So let's go forward. So we will use based on eigenvalue greater than 1. Now, you find maximum iterations for conversions. Right now, 25 is entered in this. Now, 25 is good enough for a questionnaire that has up to 25 statements, and for a sample size of 300-400. Right? But if you have a larger questionnaire and you have larger number of respondents, you might need higher number of iterations. You have freedom to change it. So instead of 25, you might select 100. And as soon as it converges, it stops iterations. So you are not going to waste your time by increasing the number of iterations here. Right? So you can change these number of iterations in the beginning itself to 100. So that we don't have to redo it. There was one more option, I did not talk about it, that is scree plot. That is another way of identifying number of factors. Scree plot is another method of identifying number of factors. And I will explain it when this scree plot is, because this is a graphical method, so I will explain it using the graph. Okay, next is rotation. Again, there are 5 rotations, 5 types of rotations. Orthogonal, and the rotation methods also are divided in 2 parts. Orthogonal and oblimin, or we call it obtuse. Orthogonal and obtuse. Now, orthogonal is where the angle between the factors is maintained 90 degree, factor axis. Okay, factors can be considered as vectors, because they have direction, they have the value also. Value and direction both are there, they can be considered as vectors. Now, if you consider a factor as a vector, then the relationship between the factors, all the factors, is maintained 90 degree. How do you maintain that? Say, if this is one of the vector and this is another vector, and you are rotating it and still maintaining 90 degree. So how do you rotate? Either you can rotate like this or you can rotate like this. You are still maintaining 90 degree angle. Right? So, in orthogonal rotation, this angle between the factors is maintained as 90 degree. And in the obtuse, the angle is maintained less than or greater than, it is both sides. It can be less than or greater than. Less than indicates relationship. Even if you go this side or that side, it indicates relationship with the factor. Okay? That means, if you are using orthogonal rotation, under orthogonal rotation, you get pure factors. The factors that are not related to each other. Why? Because the vectors are at 90 degree. At 90 degree, if y value, if the vector is at 90 degree, y value is maximum, x is 0. That means there is no relationship with the other vector that is at x, that is in the direction of x. So when the angle between the two vectors is 90 degree, the relationship between those two vectors is 0. That means the factors that you get are supposed to be pure, not related to each other. Okay? Whereas when you use the other methods, you find because the angle is either less than 90 or more than 90, they indicate a relationship, either a positive or a negative relationship with the other factor. And therefore you get factors that have common variance. Okay? Common variance. Relationship means what? Common variance. Right? So they have common variance, which later on can create problems in some of the methods, no, some of the analysis, not all. There are a number of analysis which would be, it will be good to have a relationship, and in the others, it is not good to have relationship. So we will use orthogonal rotation so that there is no relationship with factors. Okay? Right now, we will use, and there are 3 out of this that are orthogonal rotations: Varimax, Quatamax and Equamax. Okay, Varimax, Quatamax and Equamax. These 3 are the orthogonal rotations. And 2, direct oblimin and Promax. These are obtuse methods. Okay, so select Varimax. We will be using this rotation. Then maximum iterations again here are 25. This also can be changed to 100. Okay, not only convergence requires iteration, even the rotation requires iteration. And I will show you how the rotation takes place. Okay, continue. Basically, if you consider the factors as the vectors, I will just show you what does rotation mean. What happens under rotation? If we take only 2 axes, because it will be difficult for me to take more than 2 axes on a 2-dimensional thing like board. So let us use only 2 axes. Now suppose one factor, say these are some of the, say each of the statements would be indicated through some vectors. Each statement will also be, it also has a direction and the value. Now suppose they all are clubbed together into a factor. There are others, some values greater, some less, smaller. Okay, and you find another factor. Right? Now the angle between them is say 90 degrees. This is the center of the factor axis. So the angle between them is 90 degrees. Now suppose if I rotate and then this could be rotated like this could be rotated like this also, and the angle is still maintained 90 degrees. If one of these say, since I'm using 2-dimensional, it becomes difficult rotation, explaining rotation, but I'll just show you that if suppose I move this statement from this factor to this statement, I move from here to here, and this will be moved here to here only if it has higher relationship with this factor. That means the statements which converge earlier on factor 1, factor 2, etc., they will get a chance to move to the other factors under rotation. So what would happen here? This would, if I change it, now if I move this to this, what would happen? The axis would shift from here to say this will be taken in this. So what would happen? The axis would move from here to here now. Okay, move from there to there because there is one more value added here. Right? So that is what is called rotation. That axis of the factor would rotate. Okay, and it would rotate in such a way. Now this also would rotate because one item has gone from here to here. So this would rotate the downwards. Okay, maintaining that 90 degree. Okay, one factor would rotate downward because one element that was upper side, okay, that has moved to the other factor. Say this was factor 1, say this was factor 1, this is factor 2. So one item has moved from factor 1 to factor 2. Okay, and visualize it that it is all the, it is not two-dimensional, it is multi-dimensional. Right? So that means some elements which cannot be shown here are behind this, can converge on other factors. So from factor 1, you find items would move to the other factors. From factor 2 also, items would move to the other factors. So there will be a balance created. Factor 1 initially when you extract would come out to be the biggest. After rotation, it still remains biggest, but it becomes very close to the other factors. Right? So, and you also give chance to the statements to converge on the other factors. Right? So that is the purpose of rotation. Now next, scores. Generally you don't save scores because it will clutter your input matrix. And options. Under options, the top one is how to treat missing values, and bottom one is coefficient display format. Now, the top one we can continue using that, exclude cases listwise, and I have already explained, so we will continue using that. The next, it is very important to select these two, sorted by size, because it will sort your statements based on loadings. Factor loadings, whatever the statements which have highest loading on factor 1 would be first few statements, and then statements which have highest loading on factor 2 would be listed after that. Statements having highest loading on factor 3 will be listed after that. That means there will be a proper pattern. So we are able to identify easily without looking at in detail which items are loading on factor 1, which items are loading on factor 2, and which items are loading at factor 3. That is first part. The second part is that since we are going to apply confirmatory factor analysis, we should not allow statements to converge on factors or statements which have factor loading smaller than 0.4 in any case. You can select a 0.5 but not less than 0.4. Okay? Now, whenever you go for a confirmatory factor analysis, you would later on convert it into 0.5. That all these statements which have loadings smaller than 0.5 will be removed there in confirmatory factor analysis. So you can select 0.5 right here, but I will select 0.4 so that we are able to get that practice. How to remove statements at the confirmatory factor analysis stage. Right, so I will maintain 0.4. So go to this absolute value, select 0.4, not 4, 0.4. Yes. Okay. सबका हो गया? Click on OK. There will be a number of tables in this, and we will try and analyze each one of them. Look at the first table, KMO and Bartlett. Now it evaluates whether the data is suitable for factor analysis. Okay, this matrix evaluates whether the data is suitable for factor analysis. It has two parts. First part is KMO and the second is Bartlett test of sphericity. Right? First is KMO. Now KMO is the Kaiser-Meyer-Olkin measure of sampling adequacy. Basically, it tests the data for normality. Okay, it checks whether the sample size was large enough to treat the data normally distributed. It checks that, it evaluates whether the sample size was large enough to treat the data normally distributed. Your factor analysis requires that the data is normally distributed. Right? So therefore, and what do you mean by normally distributed? For each of these statements that the data is normally distributed. And therefore, the value, Kaiser-Meyer-Olkin measure value should be greater than 0.5. Greater than 0.5 value of KMO indicates that the sample size is adequate enough to treat the data normally distributed. So that is the first part. Right? So KMO value should be greater than 0.5. In this case, the KMO value is 0.882, which is far higher than 0.5. So therefore, the data is suitable for factor analysis as far as KMO is concerned. Next is Bartlett test of sphericity. It actually tests a hypothesis And the hypothesis is that the item-to-item correlation matrix is an identity matrix. Okay? Item-to-item correlation matrix is an identity matrix. Now, what is this item-to-item correlation matrix? In our case, in this, how many items are there? 11 now. There were 12. One we have dropped. So there are 11 items. Isn't it? How much? 13. 14 and 13. So, items. And both sides would be items. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, up to 13. And here also 1, 2, 3, 4, up to 13. Now, item 1 with item 1, correlation will be, what will be the correlation? 1, correct? Item 2 to item 2, 1. Item 3 to item 3, 1. Item 4 to item 4, 1. And item 13 to item 13, 1. All these would be 1. So on the diagonal, the values would be 1. Right? Now, let us see what should be the values on the off diagonal values. Now, item 1 to item 2. Unless there is a relationship of item 1 to item 2, can factor analysis be carried out? I mean, item 1 should have relationship with some or the other items, then only factor analysis can be carried out. Otherwise, how item 1 is going to converge with any other item? Same is the case with other items. That means, if I have all these zeros, what kind of matrix is this? Identity matrix. Okay? This is an identity matrix. Right? So if this is an identity matrix, if I am testing the hypothesis, what should happen for factor analysis? I should reject this hypothesis. Isn't it? Well, if this hypothesis is rejected, then only the data would be suitable for factor analysis. That means this matrix should not be identity matrix. There should be some correlation values in the off diagram cells also. Then only factor analysis can take place. Clear? So that is what we are testing through Bartlett test of sphericity. Now, what is the, and it is tested using chi-square. What is the value of chi-square here? 1530.411. Significant at 0% level of significance. And we have till now understood that the significance value, if it is less than a p-value, if less than 0.05 indicates the value is significant. That means chi-square value is significant here, indicating that our null hypothesis, assuming that item-to-item correlation matrix is a identity matrix, is rejected. Right? That means it is not a identity matrix. That means items, not only they have relationship with themselves, they have relationship with other items as well. And therefore factor analysis is possible. So these are the two things that you need to evaluate with respect to the complete matrix. Next part is that even individual items, KMOs. KMO is that overall, the top KMO is overall, that the sample is good enough, or sample size is good enough to treat the overall matrix as normally distributed. Next is individual items should also be normally distributed. So where do we get KMO for them? Now KMO for individual items is on the diagonal of anti-image correlation matrix. Anti-image, there are two matrices, anti-image covariance and anti-image correlation. Yes?
Can you explain the concept of anti-image?
See, this anti-image is actually computed. See, it is basically telling you what you need from this. You must understand that how it has come, it will not serve you any purpose. Because I will have to go to the mathematical process, that will unnecessarily clutter others' mind also. You can sit down with me, I will show you how that image is formed. Right now, it suffices to understand that on the diagonal of anti-image correlation matrix, anti-image produces two matrices, covariance and correlation. In the anti-image correlation matrix, on the diagonal you get values of individual item KMOs. And not only that the overall KMO should be greater than 0.5, individual items should also have a KMO that's greater than 0.5. Okay? So you don't need to check any other correlation value here. You need to check only the diagonal. Okay, so look at the diagonal. Item 1, 0.870, item 2, 0.686, item 3, 0.698898, item 4, 0.904, and so on. Till the time you go to the last item, and last item has a value of 0.920. And you look at, none of these values should be less than 0.5. So, KMO has a Volcano measure of sampling adequacy. That value should be, overall value should be greater than 0.5, and for individual statements also value should be greater than 0.5. Okay? So now we have all these values greater than 0.5. Suppose if we were to have any item that had lower KMO values than 0.5, what will you do? If any item has a lower KMO value than 0.5, overall may be greater than 0.5. But if any individual item has less than 0.5, what will you do? Delete it, remove it. Okay? That's it. Just remove it, plainly, simply. And that would improve not only the individual item KMOs, it will also improve overall KMO. Right? So if you initially carry out factor analysis, you find your KMO, overall KMO comes out to be below 0.5, you must understand that there must be some statements which would have smaller KMOs. So go to NTVS, don't just get this happen. Go to KMO, the NTVS, look at the diagonal values. If any one of them is smaller than 0.5, delete those statements and you will find your overall KMO improving to greater than 0.5. Right? So this is how you use the anti-image matrix. Next, these are the commonalities that have been calculated for each of the variables. How much is the commonality? Now, this is the matrix that indicates number of factors. And it gives you both the solutions, extraction sum of squared loadings, that is before rotation and after rotation. Rotation sum of squared loadings. Rotation sum of squared loadings are after rotation. Okay? Now, you need to prepare a summary of the factors because there are a number of matrices. You can't use all of them in your results. Okay? You can use only two of them, or you need to use only two of them. One is KMO, Bartlett, and the other one is a summary of factors. Okay? I will show you what goes into summary of factors so that you can develop the summary of factors. First, factor name, eigenvalue, variance explained, items converged, factor loads. You don't need anything else. This would be enough. Okay? Now if I try from here, what is the eigenvalue? These are totals are actually indicating eigenvalues. So first factor has an eigenvalue of 2.737. So if I start forming first factor, I will name it later on. Eigenvalue is 2.737. Variance explained is 21.053. Okay, and say there will be a number of statements which will be converging on it. And then I can write factor 2, factor 3, and there are 3 factors only. Okay, factor 2. What is the eigenvalue? 2.255. Variance explained? 17.37343. Last one? 2.205. Variance explained? 16.965. Okay. Now, items converged we will see from the other matrix. These are the two things that you can take from this. So, we have identified three factors. Now, we will see this tree plot. This is the tree plot that also is used for identifying number of factors. What you basically do is, you draw a straight line from the right side. Okay? Now, you need to draw a straight line from there. Okay? Now, whichever dots do not come on the straight line, count them. That is the number of factors. Actually, so if suppose if you draw a straight line and if goes through all the dots, say all these dots. So number of dots left will be 1, 2 and 3. So number of factors would be 3. But generally you won't find that simple. Okay? Now in this case, it is very clear that there is a straight line up to here and these won't fall on that straight line. So 3 factors are clear. But not every time you will get this tree plot that clear. And therefore, tree plot for beginners is not right. You must use the eigenvalues greater than 1 method that you've done. Next. Now, this is unrotated matrix, factor matrix. Three factors are shown, factor 1, factor 2, factor 3. These are the factors, factor 1, factor 2, factor 3. Okay, now how many statements have converged on factor 1? In fact, all of them have converged on factor 1. Because the loadings are higher on factor 1. There are some items that are also loading on factor 2 and factor 3, but their loadings are smaller than their loadings on factor 1. So therefore, all the items are loading on factor 1 here. Okay, initially, only one factor has the items. Let us look at after the rotation. Variable 1 is loading on factor 2 and factor 3, but its loading on factor 2 is higher. So it will be considered as converged on factor 2 and not on factor 3. So try and understand, see this matrix is clearer because we selected loadings smaller than 4 are not to be shown. Otherwise this matrix would have been full. All the loadings would have been visible and the matrix would not have been that clear. Right now this matrix is absolutely clear. Right, but then it creates problems for people who are doing first time, that what happens to the element 1 or statement 1, that will it converge on factor 2 and factor 3 both? No, it will converge on the factor on which it has higher loading. Okay, that's it. So rotated matrix. Basically, you need to only look at that much. You don't need to interpret any other table in this. And the remaining part of that summary, you will add item number 5, 10, 14, 3, 8. They are converged on factor 1 and loadings are 0.750, 0.695, 0.668, 0.649, 636, and same is 2, 12, 4, 1, 4, 1 only. Yeah, 4 only. So 2 is 0.765, 0.756, 0.619, 0.617, and the last one 7, 9, 13, 11. 7 is 0.735, 0.691, 0.684, 0.415. Okay. Now we can write the brief description of the statements here, and then based on that, based on the commonality between these statements, we can give the name to these factors. That is the next process. Next process is to write down these statements, and then based on these statements, we give name to these factors. Okay, we'll come back to that. But before I come back to that, let us see what else do we look at. Any factor analysis should actually extract at least 50% of the variance. That means cumulative variance should be at least 50%. Go on top and check whether the cumulative variance is greater than 50%. 55.361. Okay? So this factor analysis has actually resulted in, it has extracted variance which is 55.361. Okay, number of times you find that because of some of the other problem, this variance extracted might be smaller. So what should you do if you find that this variance extracted is smaller? You need to look at, start from reliability again, reliability, anti-waste, your KMO Bartlett and outliers. All of them need to be looked at again so that the variance extracted is greater than 50%. But at 49, 40, 48, 49 are acceptable values, because it is not that 50% is hard and fast cut off in this. It is considered that the factor analysis is very good if it is greater than 50%.
What was the method that you told for checking outliers in this?
Outliers in factor analysis, the same individual. It is because it's an individual variable, so you need to use that descriptives. Under descriptives, we looked at stem and leaf. Stem and leaf method has to be used. So stem and leaf method would identify the outliers. We'll see stem and leaf method earlier. That would be used. All right. So this is exploratory factor analysis for us. Now we will go to the questionnaire and give name to the variables. It may not be there, that questionnaire will not be there with you. I will just give you the name. Alright, so these are the statements in this questionnaire. And this was service quality questionnaire of clinics. Let's look at. Hospital has up-to-date equipment. Okay? Hospital has up-to-date equipment. Now, we'll start putting that on this. What is item 5 in this? Staff of the hospital sincerely solves the patient problems. Okay? Staff solves problems. Staff of the hospital is always courteous. Courteous staff. Next, 14. Okay, 14. Next, 3. Hospital are well dressed. Staff well dressed. 8. Prompt response. All of them are to patients. Right. 2. What is 2? Hospital is appropriate infra. Appropriate infra. Next, 12. Out of best interest. Best interest of whom? Best interest of patient. 4. Precise information of OPD dates. Information about OPD dates. 1. Equipment, up-to-date equipment. 7. Accurate records, medical records. 8. secure in receiving service. Feel secure. Safety. 13. अच्छा इसमें 13 deleted है. 14, 11. Hospital has convenient consultation hours.
Convenience.
Convenient consultation time. Hours. 13. I don't remember what was that. But then, anyway, this must have been deleted based on the reliability or factor analysis. Based on factor analysis. Now there are 14 statements, and we deleted 8. 8 was deleted. 6 was deleted. So waiting time according to appointment time given. Waiting time according to appointment time given. It was confusing. So that's the reason why it is gone. So anyway, this is the statement that is gone. All right. Now let us see what names would you give. Staff solves problems. Okay. Second, what was that? Staff is courteous. Doctor on call. Welfare staff. Prompt response. Okay. Now what is this? All of them are pointing towards what? I mean, it is basically how the staff is treating the patient. That means the this is the services provided by the staff, isn't it? All of them are the way staff treats the patient. Okay. So what will be the factor name given? Attentiveness to nahi aayega. That is not good enough. Service? Service levels, staff service levels, or let me get the right word if we can get. Staff service levels is okay, but then it has 3 words. As far as possible, if we can have a single word.
Attentiveness.
Attentiveness. Service quality तो overall है. Hospitality.
Yes, sir. That is committed. How committed they are towards the
Staff.
Accountability. So the accountability is not relating to the patient. And commitment also is not relating to the patient. We have to get the word that is relating to the patient. We can't get the word that is relating to the organization. Responsiveness is possible. Let us write responsiveness first. Then we will see. It is just like giving name to a newborn baby. It's not easy. Giving name to factors is very, very difficult. Okay? And you need to look at the real commonality. Now, next is appointment. That is appropriate infra. First one is infra. Second, 12. 12 is operates out of best interest for you. Best interest of the patient is kept in mind. That could be through infra as well as the services. Fourth, next is hospital precise information about OPD days and up-to-date equipment. Now, what does it indicate? Majorly infra. Okay, and infra not only the rooms etc. Infra related to equipment and so on, and maybe even communication system used. Okay, communicating to people, right? So that means what should be the word? Should I put infra or something else? Infra word has already come in one of the statements, so that it will not be right to use that word. Physical facilities. Okay? Or we put facilities. We should not put facilities alone. Amenities will not include everything. Amenities will not include equipment.
physical facilities means
Because amenities are additional. could be correct. Facilities. Facilities would include both physical, that means people also are included, facilities. Tangible facilities. Okay. Tangible, I am putting that word, later on we will see. Last one, accurate records, feel secure and convenient consulting hours. All are related to security, isn't it? Privacy and security both. In fact, they are related to means security, including the privacy. Okay, it is including the privacy. So all are related to basically security. So if you look back again, you might find you would like to change some of these because facilities, when we are talking, I don't have to write tangible here because even software would come part of it. So facilities, just word facilities would be good enough. So tangible can be removed because I was only looking at whether intangible facilities are elsewhere written, then only tangible facilities would come there. Otherwise, facilities is okay. So security, facilities, responsiveness. These are the three factors that have emerged as the service quality factors. Now, let us compare them with the factors that actually are the factors for service quality for other places other than hospitals or clinics. Like say for hotels. What are those 5 factors? आशीष जी बताएं जरा 5 factor service quality के. Reliability is one. Responsiveness ठीक हो गया. Empathy is one. Tangibles ठीक है, ये आ गया. Tangibles, facilities. We could put tangibles here instead of facilities, right? So that it aligns to your basic model. So we can put tangibles here.
And assurance.
And this would become assurance, not security. Okay. Now, if you look at assurance, it is more appropriate than anything else. Assurance, tangibles, responsiveness. So out of the 5 factors, see, world over that model has been used, service quality model, the GAP model, SAP 12, GAP model, and 5 factors are generally identified. Now this was on hospitals, clinics, and number of issues out of that were not part of this quality, and therefore only 3 factors are emerged, and they are also exactly similar to the ones that have been identified for other service quality measures that were evaluated. All right, so this is okay. Now what we have got, these statements we will use later on also. So our exploratory factor analysis, as far as I am concerned,